Welcome, everybody, back to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be doing another prospect roundup. It's been a couple weeks. Since then, there was unfortunate news. CJ Abrams is out for the season. I saw a couple people commenting about bringing him up, and that is not going to be the case this year. It looks like we're going to have to wait until 2022 to bring CJ Abrams up. So that's kind of the big, headline. Reese Neer was also called up, so that's another guy. But Chase, do you want to just kind of give an overview of where the full farm is at right now?
So we've had a couple guys really overperforming and kind of going under the radar. They aren't on any of our top prospect lists because we just didn't know about them and they kind of just been killing it. The first guy would be Uribil Angelis or Angelis, however you want to pronounce that. He's an infielder in Lake Elsinore right now. He's hitting 354 over the season with nearly a 400 on base percentage and 863 OPS. So absolutely killing it. We should probably see him getting a promotion into either double A or high A ball just to see how he develops. But yeah, we are finding these guys that are just middle infielders, and we have kind of a stockpile of them. Though right now, yeah, it's kind of like a big old lamb. Though he is 19 years old, Angel Solarte, he's an outfielder. He's kind of been flying under the radar too. He's having himself a solid season. A couple we see either get called up or promoted within the system that are less known as pitchers is Adrian Martinez. He's a righty. His last outing, he went 6 innings, no hits with 2 walks and 9 strikeouts. On the season, he has a 304 average with 47 and a third innings pitched. He's 24 years old in double A. So he's one of those guys that we may see get called up for a spot start. Like say if Neer goes down and they just call another guy up because a few of our pitchers are on the IL. And then another guy would probably be Aaron Leisure. He's more of a household name within the system. He's averaging less than 5 innings per start, but he does have a 2.54 ERA, showing that he is doing a pretty solid job. He's another lefty within the system. And then Ethan Elliott also has had pretty good outings. He is in high A. He has a 2.95 ERA on the season with just a little less than 5 innings per outing. He's 24. It's a righty. So I'd like to see him in double A, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Padres call him up to make a spot start because he's just been performing pretty well.
Yeah, so a lot of guys there, a lot of guys performing well. Mostly hearing about middle infielders and pitchers there, and a couple guys that we could potentially see called up. We are recording this after Reese Neer's debut, so he came up, looked really good. So you start talking about bringing some of these guys up to see what they have. I like Neer's outing a lot. He's the 12th rated prospect in our system. So you see a couple of these other guys in Double A that are performing really well. Maybe they come up, maybe don't even spot start, but maybe they piggyback after him because he only went 3 2/3 this time around. So definitely really promising there. Another guy I want to bring up, this guy has absolutely been tearing the cover off the baseball, so I'll go to you right after I bring up his name. But that guy is Luis Campusano. So, Isaac, what are your thoughts on him so far in July? I believe he has a OPS over 1,300, and in June he had an OPS around 850. So, dude is absolutely balling after we saw him earlier this year in the MLB struggle a little bit. But, Isaac, what are your thoughts on Campy right now?
Yeah, we saw him earlier this year, and actually, other than some catching situation, we saw Blake Snell had some issues with him behind the plate. But at the plate, while he was batting, I actually wasn't very frustrated with his performance because I did feel like he was hitting the ball really hard. It's just sometimes he couldn't find the holes, and that's baseball for you, Sometimes you aren't going to find those holes, and I felt like Campy at the beginning of the season was a prime example of that, maybe except for Tommy Pham. But down in the minors, he's really proven himself to be what we thought he was going to be, which was a really good hitting catcher. He might be a really good trade piece when it comes to the trade deadline. I'm fully expecting him to, be involved in some trade talks. I'm a huge fan of his. I mean, I don't know if he'd get traded, but I'd be, I'm accepting of it that he might get traded. And as big a fan of his as I am, we do have some really good catchers in this on the major league team with the Padres. And, you never know what's going to happen with these prospects, especially catching prospects. We don't really have good history with these catching prospects. Austin Hedges, awful. Francisco Mejia, not as awful, but still pretty bad. Luis Campusano, I thought, third time's a charm. But he's hitting really well right now in July. He's doing really good in the minors. He's caught a couple of these guys that are going to be brought up soon. We bring up Mackenzie Gore. He's caught Ryan Weathers before. He caught him in the majors this year too. And I do think wherever he goes, if he stays with us or goes, he's going to be a very valuable piece down the line. And I think he's going to be hopefully one of the best hitting catchers in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Though right now he's kind of blocked because Caratini is Darvish's personal catcher. So Caratini's going to be on or on the team for the next 2 to 3 years. So there's one catcher, and then you have Nola we have on the books for I think the next 2 years, and so he just doesn't really have anywhere to go. I mean, it's kind of hard to carry 3 catchers and get them all reps at the same time. You can try, but I mean, you can throw Nola anywhere in the infield and outfield, but then you still have Caratini catching some games, and then you try to fit the rest for Campusano. It's just as talented as he is right now, he is blocked on the team, and I mean, I hate to say it, but he's more likely going to be traded at the deadline because Preller might see him as expendable with how good he is. He might get a real valuable piece back for him. But yeah, he's been absolutely tearing the cover off the ball. I believe he's made some defensive adjustments since he's getting more reps and can catch and see how he can call a better game. So, that's always good for him. Yeah, absolutely great to see that from him.
Yeah, he's a guy that it does seem like there's a decent chance he gets traded. But if he is traded, let's not look at that MLB stint as something that's going to really hurt him that much. He only played in like high A ball in 2019 and then he had 3 at bats. He played 1 game in 2020. And then we saw him earlier this year in 2021 playing the MLB, struggled a little bit. But since he's been in El Paso, he's hit he's hitting 277, 468, 9 slugging. And then when he was in high A ball in 2019, he hit almost 330 and he had 15 home runs in 110 games. So he's a guy that's going to be a really, really good catcher. And so I think looking at how he's going to be viewed, he, like you said, Isaac, he has a chance to be one of the better hitting catchers in the whole MLB. So if they do trade him, don't expect it to be just some average player. They're going to get a lot back for him. He's a very highly coveted asset. And when we had Ryan on talking about potential guys that could get moved, he was brought up. And one of the things that was brought up about him is that his value, wherever he's ranked, might be perceived a little bit higher just because of that. So I think that he's a guy that if he is moved, you're going to see him move for a lot. And if he's not moved, well, that's great because he has a chance to be a very, very special player in the MLB. Another guy I want to bring up, Tucupita Marcano. He's a guy that we've seen him a bunch bounce back and forth this year. Another guy that I think that could definitely be moved. Currently hitting 292. He has a 388 on base percentage and a 472 slugging right now in AAA. So he's been a guy that's been killing it in AAA as well. But Isaac, what are just your thoughts on him? And is he another guy you expect to be moved?
I definitely expect him to be moved. I think even through spring training, I was thinking hopefully he keeps this up during, the minor league season, because if he's able to keep this up, we're going to be able to move him. He's a second baseman. He can play in the outfield, but, his natural position's in the middle infield, preferably at second base. So I definitely thought, with Jake there, we just got Ha-seong Kim. I mean, he can't play shortstop, so he's definitely blocked. Even then, he'll be blocked by CJ Abrams here soon too, who's a much better prospect than he is. Tucupita, Marcano can't. I don't really think he can hit for power, but he proved me wrong when he had 4 straight days of 4. He had 4 home runs in that span, so he can clearly hit for power. And I think what I really enjoyed of him when I watched him, that guy plays with so much heart. He plays with so much hustle and heart that you want to root for the guy. You want to see him succeed. And he's hustling every play. He's no matter what, even if he grounds out to the pitcher, he's hustling. So I definitely hope he succeeds. Whether it's with us or with another team, I don't know. If I had to put money on it, I would bet that it'd be with another team. Definitely could be involved in a Rangers trade where we would get back Gallo. I think that's maybe the most likely scenario. But I absolutely think he's going to get moved. It's really good to see that he's succeeding down the farm. And it's good to see that a couple of these guys succeeding down the farm, because the Padres are in it to win it right now. And in order for us to, make these guys tradable pieces, we need to see them performing. So really good to see.
And even then, they might not just be trade bait. The Padres could use this as like, a next man up kind of situation with how well they're performing in the minors. Like, hey, you know what? This guy isn't cutting it at the major league level. Maybe we need to bench him and bring this guy up and see what he's got. And if not,
Mateo.
yeah. Yeah, too bad we can't send Mateo down. He's out of options. So he's going to currently ride the bench until playoffs, and who knows from how long. But hopefully another team sees him and his speed and be like, wow, we really need a pinch runner off the bench, because that's exactly what he is. So, yeah, Marcano, I didn't – when you see him at bat, you don't look at him and you're like, this guy shouldn't hit for a lot of power. Like, you look at him, he's a pretty skinny guy. You're like, I'm not expecting him to be able to hit a lot of home runs. But then he goes down to the minor leagues. I think he hit 2 home runs this week. And the week he got sent into the minor leagues, he had like a 2 home run game. He's tearing the cover off the ball. You can't help but root for the guy. But like Isaac was saying, he sort of is roadblocked here. Cronenworth's at second. Outfield is kind of occupied with Pham and Myers. Myers having his resurgence right now. The only infield position that is kind of worth keeping an eye on, just because it's a touchy topic within the Padres community, is first base. Some love him, some people hate him. Not going to get into him, but that would be the one spot where if a player proved himself worthy, can take that spot, I think that's a spot that's open to take. And Marcano doesn't play first, though. So, unfortunately, he's out too.
Yeah, very interesting to see how he plays out. I do think there's a pretty strong chance that he is moved, and we've talked about him as a guy like that for a long time. Not to discredit him this year, really liked him a lot. And Isaac said he's a guy that flies down the line, plays with a ton of heart, and it's always fun to watch him out there. Going to get into a couple guys kind of more negative. Joshua Mears, he's only hitting 205 this year, striking out a lot. Now, there is a positive takeaway from him. He has a 368 on base percentage, so he's also walking a ton. Reminds me of a certain player that the Padres are rumored to be trading for, kind of putting that slash line up. So he's a guy, he has 7 home runs this year so far. He's had quite a few, like in his last 10 games. He had a couple games where he struck out 3 times. Definitely a dude that is striking out a ton. If he can improve that part of his game, we've seen the power show the ball, and that's always how I'm going to remember him until he gets called up, is the dude that absolutely demolished the ball in spring training, because that thing was absolutely rocked. So a guy that's struggling a little bit. And then Mackenzie Gore, he's dealing with a blister injury, so he hasn't been pitching. Everyone knows that he's been struggling with a lot, like his control this year. So we're going to see how that plays out. In our live stream, we talked about it a little bit, and Chase basically advocated for him to come up and start eventually. Maybe like Chase, it was like you said, like a month or so after he recovers from the injury. You'd like to see that?
It really depends on the blister, because I don't know if you guys saw, there's a picture of Ohtani's blister that he was dealing with his rookie year, and that thing was nasty. That would probably take like a month to heal after season. It was pretty bad. So like those finger blisters, you're like, how bad can it be? They get pretty bad because of the seams on those balls. It really tears up those skin, and it really messes up those fingers. So I'm saying like maybe a couple more weeks until that's fully healed. And, then they said they were going to keep him in Arizona to try to fix some of his mechanics. So maybe in 3 weeks we get to see more of him in AAA, if not hopefully called up, because I don't think AAA is the place for him. It is a hitter-friendly park, and unfortunately, maybe he's down in the gutters right now, and calling him up gives him a change of scenery, gives little confidence, maybe gives him everything that he needs to put everything together.
I think the point that Chase has with the whole, bringing him up to the major leagues, I think you got to look at a superstar player on our team who has better stats in the majors than he did in the minors. He's our shortstop. He's a superstar in the league now, Fernando Tatis. Maybe that could happen with Mackenzie Gore, and I'm not saying that's a guarantee, but a change of scenery, just the organization having enough confidence in you to be able to bring you up. They know the talent you have. The talent of Mackenzie Gore does not just disappear, it's still there, absolutely. Maybe it's a mental thing the way it was with Chris Paddock earlier in the season. He's still got a plus fastball. He still has 4 really good pitches, and I still believe he can, I brought up earlier this year how just the mechanics and everything remind me somewhat of like a Clayton Kershaw. Maybe not like a, maybe he won't pan out to be like Clayton Kershaw, but just the mechanics and everything, like the hype around him. He's the number one prospect in our system. And maybe that changed with CJ Abrams being so good, but he's still a really good prospect. And Chase brought up the blister. Yes, blisters are, even to bat with, they're hell. Like, they're really bad to play through. It hurts really bad. It's kind of tough to be able to tough it out when you're a pitcher because, you're expected to throw 80, 90 pitches with a blister on your hand. That's just unreasonable. It's uncomfortable. We don't know how long that'll take to heal. He's in Arizona right now, like Chase mentioned. Hopefully he's getting some, watching some film of his, tuning up his mechanics, fixing everything up to get prepared for maybe some more starts in AAA, AA, or the major leagues. Because, whether we like it or not, this rotation isn't really cutting it. And if we're not able to make, the moves that we need at the deadline, some guys in the farm system are going to have to come up. And the first name that's going to come up to mind is Mackenzie Gore.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Gonna kind of have to be on standby with Mackenzie Gore to see how that blister heals up because, like you guys are saying, the timeline could be very different. Hopefully he's back after the All-Star break and, we see him out there and his control looks better. And hopefully we get to see him this year. I think the whole fan base wants to see that. If he's a September call-up and he comes out and he looks really good, that's going to excite a lot of people. Because 2022, I already know we're getting Mike Clevenger back as well. So if you kind of have him ready to go for 2022 and you have Clev there, that is really, really exciting for this Padres team and especially this rotation. And especially looking at it like this last 2 weeks, I mean, that makes it a lot more optimistic. But anything else you guys want to add on this farm before we take off out here?
Yeah, a little more on Mackenzie Gore. His estimated time of arrival to the league was 2021. Obviously, that's this year. So I absolutely think that it is a realistic possibility we see him get called up. Even if he is struggling down in the minors, the only way to find out if you're ready for the majors is to come to the majors and find out. Come to the majors and pitch some Major League Baseball, pitch some Major League innings against some Major League batters. See what you got, go out there, see what kind of stuff you got, see if you can hit your spots and see if the change of scenery really works out for you, because maybe he's built for these big moments. We never know. I know some people, obviously there's a lot of players out there who probably perform better in bigger moments. But I think it'd be really cool to see Mackenzie Gore this year. I think everyone wants to see him. I don't know if we talked about CJ Abrams. I think we did earlier in the segment. Unfortunate that, he went down with an injury. I think he's our consensus top prospect. Really good hitter, always has really amazing at-bats. The speed, he's faster than Tatis. So unfortunate that he goes down this year. Hopefully we see him in the majors probably by 2023, I would assume, just because we don't know what's going to go on in 2022. We'll probably see him healing throughout the process, maybe late 2022, but hopefully 2023 we'll see CJ Abrams, and hopefully in 2021 we'll see Mackenzie Gore.
Yeah, and just one last thing. I don't think any of us mentioned Robert Hassel. He's been absolutely killing it this week in the minors. He currently is hitting .289 with a .372 on base and .822 OPS. He has 4 home runs on the year, and he had a few games where he had 3+ hits, and he's just absolutely killing it this week. And hopefully he continues to build off this. Hopefully we can see a little bit more power. He's not striking out as much because when we saw him in spring training, it was a major concern. I think he had 19 at-bats, and 17 of them were strikeouts, and one or two were hits. It was pretty concerning, but hey, seems to be taking that to heart and, proving that he's going to be one of those top guys. He's developing at a good rate. Maybe we see him promoted at the end of the year to AA, AAA, if maybe not a September call-up, because you know what? If he continues to perform, just let him show what he got at the major leagues and see where he's at in his developmental stages.
Talk about a guy that kind of flying prospect really early on. So always great to see that from him. But I think it's going to do it for today's episode. So we'll make sure to get another one of these out soon, just to kind of update you on what's going on in the farm. A lot of guys brought up today. So, and we're not going to be able to get to everyone. There's a lot of dudes out here performing well. Definitely a couple of concerns as well. But overall, I think you see a lot of these guys emerging. So really exciting stuff. But that's going to do it for today's segment. So thanks everyone. And we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.